I'll start out, though, by giving a quote by Benjamin Franklin, because quite frankly, I think this quote really summarizes what it is we're talking about here today. And that is, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And you know, it's this desire for security, even if it's just the illusion of security, that drives many people to make decisions that are very destructive of their liberty. And this promise of government-guaranteed health care security is a really good example of this. And of course, that's what we're talking about here today. And you know, all of us here are pretty tuned into what's going on in the state. But what we wanted to find out at Republic Free Choice is, are Wyomingites drinking the federal government health care Kool-Aid? So in June 2012, we surveyed 500 Wyoming citizens, potential voters, on their existing health care coverage, whether they think freedom to make their own health care decisions is important. Are they worried about federal government health care reforms? And are they actually aware that they do have the opportunity to enshrine in the Wyoming Constitution their right to make their own health care decisions? And I did a news release on that, and there's a backgrounder, and you can pick those up over here, or you can go to republicfreechoice.org, and we've got a little card also, if I say republicfreechoice.org too fast, you can pick it up over there, and you can check out all of these things that I'm talking about on our website. So what did I find in June? Well, I found out that most respondents have health insurance. They're mostly satisfied with it. Most say it is important for them to be able to make their own health care decisions. They are worried about federal meddling in their health care decisions, or restrictions to their health care freedom of choice. And they're also pretty aware that there is the opportunity to embody these rights to make their own health care decisions in the Wyoming Constitution. So, that's all good now. No. We also had done a survey back in 2010. And when I compared those results, that's when I got worried. And what you're getting now is a preview of an article that I'm publishing on Monday. So you can go to, again, republicfreechoice.org and check out the article there if you want to get more detail, because I don't have that much time to go through everything, so I'm just going to go over some of the highlights here. So when I compare the responses I got in 2012 to those from 2010, I really get the impression that a very significant switch occurred between people who think freedom to make their own healthcare choices is important. People also, and this is a real worry, seem to be less worried about federal government meddling in their healthcare decisions. And not only that, more respondents today seem unsure about amending the Wyoming Constitution to preserve their right to make their own healthcare decisions than they are now in 2012. Fortunately, at least, fewer indicated that they would vote against the amendment now than in 2010. So, what were those details? Or a few of the details anyway. Well, it seems fewer people today than in 2010 say it is very important to have freedom to make their own health care decisions. So if they don't think it's very important, what do they think? Well, they think it's somewhat important. So more people think it's somewhat important. About the same number of people think it's not important. Now, I mean, I really don't personally understand why people would think it's not important to be able to make their own health care decisions, and somehow these government bureaucrats are better at it than they are. But you know what? There are people like that. Obviously, we've got Obamacare now, so we can only just feel sorry for them. But so what's behind this switcheroo? Well, it seems women today are a lot more concerned than they were back in 2010 when it comes to freedom to make their own health decisions and federal government restrictions on their decisions, and I'll get to that in a second. When we look at every political affiliation, and when I talk about political affiliation, I'm talking about Republicans, Democrats, and other, and so in there I'm sure you have groups like anarcho-capitalists, we were talking about that on the drive down, and independents. And when we talk about ideological groups, I'm talking about conservatives, liberals, and moderates. So every single one of those groups, except conservatives, showed a significant drop in the level of importance in the freedom to make their own health care decisions. So everybody except conservatives thought it was less important to have this freedom. People also seem to be less worried about federal restrictions to their health care freedom now than they were back in 2010. A lot more people seem, for some reason, not to be worried at all. So we have a lot more people who are not worried at all. So as I mentioned before, women are now more worried than men than they were back in 2010 about more federal restrictions. And every political affiliation and ideology, again, except conservatives, are less worried about this federal meddling. So when we asked if they would vote for a reform to the Wyoming Constitution to protect their healthcare freedom, more people said they would vote for that in 2010 than they did in 2012. But at the same time, fewer people said they would vote against it now than in 2010. So you're probably thinking, okay, so fewer people are going to vote for, fewer people are going to vote against. Well, what are they going to, what are they thinking? Well, more people are unsure about that. And while men would be more likely to vote for the amendment in 2010, women are more likely to vote for the amendment now in 2012. So we might want to start asking ourselves, why would more people seem to be drinking the healthcare Kool-Aid now than they were back in 2010? One of the reasons could be timing. This survey was done in June, and that was right before the Supreme Court's jaw-dropping Obamacare decision, where it ruled that it is okay for the federal government to force you to buy a private product produced by a private company. I'm sure, like a lot of us at the office, we all thought that those black-robed employees of government would protect individual health care freedom from government. But as Chief Justice Roberts said, hey, it's not our job to protect the people from the consequences of their political decisions. But it is the job of every Wyoming citizen to find out about this issue and the opportunity to vote for a constitutional amendment to preserve their freedom to make their own health care decisions. And you can get more information on that on our website, republicfreechoice.org. And you can also